Good afternoon, Assembly members. My name is Varsha Sarveshwar, and I am a second year at the University of California, Berkeley. With me today are about 20 students from the University of California system, and today they're going to tell you their own stories, because as you, Assemblymember Medina, and you, Assemblymember Limon, you noted so eloquently, we need to center student voices in this conversation because we are being left out.
Good afternoon. My name is Roger Robinson, and I have the privilege of serving the 40,000 students at UC Berkeley as the External Affairs Vice President of their Student Association. Berkeley is the UC campus that currently houses the smallest share of its students. Our campus's most recent housing survey indicates that 10% of UC Berkeley students will experience homelessness at some point during their time at Berkeley. We don't have the physical room or the funds to build more housing, and yet the state continues to ask for more enrollment growth from us. Year after year, the UC has answered these funding needs by increasing tuition, but this has gone on for far too long, as the regents realized at their last meeting. This year, the UC Student Association and the UC Office of the President are coming to you to demand more for the UC. Budgets are a statement of values. If the state truly values the UC and higher education, it will grant us the full 4% increase in funding that we were expecting.
Hello, my name is Sarah Abdushain. I'm a second year at UC Berkeley. The UC was founded on the principles of accessibility and affordability, but in reality, the UC exhibits neither. And that's because students have become the primary financial stakeholders of the UC. And the regents are still considering raising our tuition because the state budget did not cover deferred maintenance costs or funding for increased enrollment. And let me clarify that tuition is not going to raise because of administrative bloat. It's going to raise because of the lack of support from the state. Students already contribute more to CAR funds than the state does, so I have a hard time calling Berkeley the #1 public university in the world when it is not really funded by the state. We need more state funding, we need it now, and we need it for the long term. So we'll be watching, we'll be skipping class to be here, and we'll be visiting your offices, and we'll be making sure that you are held accountable and that your actions match your rhetoric.
Good afternoon. My name is Max Lubin. I'm a student at UC Berkeley, and I'm one of more than 10,000 students with Rise California who are fighting to bring free college back to our state. You've heard from countless students about hunger and homelessness. So my question for you is not about whether or not we're going to address those issues. It's about why we're spending $5 billion on a rainy day fund that students can't afford. It's why we're spending billions more on roads and infrastructure instead of addressing students' needs. The question is why California has the highest paid prison guards in the nation instead of investing in students who will pay much longer dividends to our state. We want to work with you to solve these issues. If administrative bloat is the problem, you can legislate your way out of that problem. We can solve it together. But don't shortchange students because of politics between the legislature, the governor, and the UC, CSU, and community colleges. We want to work with you to solve these problems.
My name is Dana Alpert. I'm a junior at UC Berkeley. I serve as an RA in the UC Berkeley dorms, and as such get a firsthand outlook on the consistent issues that our incoming students face. One of those is very prevalent. It's food insecurity. The meal plans for our current freshmen and incoming students support maybe 2 meals a day, one on the weekend. I cannot tell you the number of times that my residents have come forward to me telling me about how they skip meals, about how they're facing food insecurity and how it's affecting their education. We have policies here at UC Berkeley that drop students from their classes if they haven't paid a certain amount of their tuition on time, and yet our financial aid often isn't dispersed until the end of the semester. That, paired with rising tuition costs, forces students to focus on their financial instability over their education. I myself work 2 jobs on campus, and my parents recently came forward to me, talking to me about their work situation, and now I will have to look for a 3rd job on campus by the end of this semester.
Hi, my name is Sadia Khan, and I'm a 3rd-year transfer student at UC Berkeley. You see, when I was 19, I was raped, and I was a single parent by that time as well. So because of that, I had absolutely how do you even start school with that in mind? But right now, my financial aid has not even dispersed, and we're often told that we're going to get financial aid for being low-income students, but I haven't seen a dime. I've had to take out over $3,000 already to pay for my food and rent and everything. On top of that, I was homeless for the first week of school. I don't get to go home and see my son. Instead, I see him every 4 to 6 months because I can't afford to have him live here with me. On top of that, as a transfer student, there are many transfer students who do not even bother to apply to the UC system. This last year was the largest graduating and transferring class of San Bernardino Valley College, yet only a handful applied to the UC system. Why? Because we're scared of the student debt that's going to come with it. When I got my UC Berkeley acceptance letter, I was only offered $3,000 when the cost of attendance is $32,000. How are students supposed to continue to even try to apply or even consider the UC system when that's what we're faced with? And on top of that, there's a work-study program that itself limits students to 15 hours a week. When it's understood that those 15 hours are more than enough to make an impact on student academic success, well, there's plenty of us that are working 30 hours a week just to make sure that we have enough food, that we can pay for our rent, our books, and school, and yet we still have to come here, skip our classes in the middle of midterm week to tell you guys to do the right thing and to fund the UC system.
Good afternoon. My name is Travis Alwyn. I am a junior transfer from UC Berkeley. I transferred from Chaffey Community College. Coming from low-income background, we are often told that FAFSA will cover most of our expenses. What they did not prepare me for is the fact that many students like myself will end up homeless and hungry at one point or another during the transition to the UC system. Over 48% of UC students have reported facing food insecurity. So when I speak of the dire need of properly funding the UC system, I speak not only for myself, but for most of the UC population.
Hello, my name is Angelica Rodriguez, and I'm currently a junior transfer student at the University of California, Berkeley. And like many of my peers, I am here to demand greater funding for higher education. As a first-generation student and daughter of 2 farm workers from the Central Valley, coming to college has been a dream come true. However, paying for college has been a nightmare. When you don't fund higher education, you make it harder for low-income students of color like me to afford stuff like books, rent, and food. And your actions show us that you do not care about us. You know, you always tell students like me that you care about us and that students are the future leaders of tomorrow's society, but then you don't allocate enough funds for higher education, which ultimately makes it harder for us to be the future leaders that you say you want us to be.
Good evening. My name is Judith Gutierrez, and I'm the president of the UC Student Association. And I want to reiterate that students took time out of their day today to be here and be part of this dialogue and to share their stories with you. And I need you to recognize that these aren't unique stories to those who have spoken, who are in this room, but these are shared experiences among students across the state. And it is critical that the state adequately funds the UC, because the burden should not be placed on the backs of students.